Good morning, people. Today is part 2 of our ketogenic diet lives. If you have been joining me this week, then you know that all week we are talking about the ketogenic diet so that you can distinguish fad from fiction and misinformation. My name is Mubarakah Ibrahim, and I am your health and happiness coach. I would like to thank you for tuning in once again. Give me salams, tell me where you are logging in from. I am in Connecticut in the United States of America, and one reason why I enjoy social media is because it brings us all so much closer together, right? So that is actually one of the good things. I'm always adjusting my clothes. I should do that actually before I get on. Walaikum salam, Kelly. Oh, let me see my Insta people. I can't see my Instagram comments. Hold on. I gotta move it over. Gotta move stuff over. There we go. Instagram and Facebook side by side instead of on top of each other. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Jam Jar Creative from Cambridgeshire, UK. That is a very long name of a city. Cambridgeshire, UK. But alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam, Catherine. I am glad that you are joining. Ahmed in India, living in Kuwait. Oh, Bara from Sweden. I love it. Mobile, Alabama. Imam Yusuf Masonet. Did I pronounce that right? Oh, it's a county. Okay. Jamdra said it's a county. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Saliha. All right, Canada, Alberta, Canada. Catherine is from Alberta, Canada. So we in the first 5 minutes, we are literally New York. New York is right down the road for me. I say it's down the road because literally 45 minutes and I'm across the state line. Mariam. Syrian living in Sweden. Wow. I love it. I love the fact that the internet brings us all so close together. In addition to that, it also shows how the earth is so expansive. People can be Sweden living in Syria or, Indian living in Kuwait, right? You can just travel. I miss traveling. That is the first thing that I am going to do when this pandemic lifts just a little bit. I miss traveling. I want to go places and see things and enjoy Allah's beauty. I do. So, all right, we are going to talk today about, so if you remember, every week we are focusing on a topic and we are having a 30-minute discussion about that topic. Last week we spent the entire week talking about intermittent fasting. If you are interested in that topic or you missed that series, it is a 4-part series. You can scroll the IGTVs on my Instagram, or you can go and scroll the videos on Facebook. I do have to tell my IG people one thing is one day the camera battery, my phone battery died. And so I think the last day you didn't get the IGTV, but it is on Facebook. If you are part of Facebook, go to my Facebook page. My username is Fit Muslima on all platforms. So you can always find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. I don't use Snapchat, but I still am Fit Muslim on there. You can see the 3 snaps. But I am at Fit Muslima on all platforms, and I spell Fit Muslima with an AH. So you can actually find me and find all of the things there. So yesterday we talked about the history of a ketogenic diet. Oops, my cameras are falling. Hold on. There we go. All right. So I'm a little off-centered on Facebook, but that's okay. You guys Well, forgive me for that, right? So yesterday we talked about the history of a ketogenic diet and where it came from. And we said we're going to have a keto party this year because it is 100 years since we discovered the ketogenic diet. Woohoo! Go keto, go keto, go keto. All right. So keto party this year. Second thing that we said we're going to talk about is, who is the ketogenic diet appropriate for? So when it comes to health and wellness, I have a particular philosophy. Number one, I do not believe that there is any universally healthy food or universally healthy diet, right? Eat according to your health status and your fitness goals. So let me make that clear. I follow a ketogenic diet. I teach other women how to follow a ketogenic diet because I am specifically focused on helping women to balance their hormones so that they can reverse metabolic dysfunction, right? So that is my specialty, right? So that is the reason why I do a ketogenic diet. If those are not issues for you, then you may not want to follow a ketogenic diet or need to follow a ketogenic diet. And there are certain people who have certain health issues that should certainly either do it under a doctor's supervision or may want to find an alternative. I feel like diets, lifestyle plans is sort of like madhabs, right? There's no one that's completely right, and there's no one that's completely wrong. It's just what you decide makes most sense for you and your lifestyle and resonates with the way that you want to live. How about that? Let's take that philosophy. Diets are like madhabs. You can have the vegan madhab, you can have the vegetarian madhab, you can have the Mediterranean madhab, you can have the keto madhab. We follow the keto madhab. All right? So, who is the keto madhab not appropriate for? All right? If your goal is not weight loss, you have no weight issues, you're happy with your weight, you're at a healthy weight, and you don't have a problem, you have no existing health conditions that you are trying to resolve, then you may not need to follow a ketogenic plan, because a ketogenic plan is a corrective plan, and that may not be what you need for what your particular goals are, right? If you fall in those categories and you happen to be an endurance athlete, right? You do Ironman, you do marathon, then based on your fitness goals, a keto plan may be beneficial for you. So that's the first type of person who may not need to follow a ketogenic plan. The second type of person that is not recommended to follow a ketogenic plan is someone who has an existing kidney disease. Ketogenic diets can be cause the kidneys to work, have additional work to them as the metabolic process changes. So if you have an existing kidney disease, then you need to, if you want to follow a keto, okay, let me reverse. If you have an existing kidney disease, you're on dialysis, you're on some type of medication, you have been diagnosed with a kidney disease, you want to seek medical supervision to follow a ketogenic diet. Or if you do not have the proper medical supervision to follow you along the way, then it may not be the best plan for you to follow, because it can be hard on your kidneys if you already have kidney dysfunction, right? So this is very different than someone who has a normal working kidney. So that's the second person that ketogenic diet may not be appropriate for. The third type of person that a ketogenic diet may not be appropriate for is someone who has type 1 diabetes. It can be very beneficial for someone with type 1 diabetes. However, because type 1 diabetes has a greater level of sensitivity to insulin level than type 2, right? There is a difference between the two. So if you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it is not the same protocol as if you are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is reversible. Type 1 diabetes is not reversible. If you have type 1 diabetes, then you definitely want to have medical supervision if you want to do a ketogenic plan. Why would people with these pre-existing conditions want to do a ketogenic plan? Maybe they have these conditions, but they also are obese, or they also have some other type of metabolic dysfunction like PCOS or something like that. Then you might want to consider keto as a quicker way of creating health transformations, right? So those are the people who should not follow a ketogenic plan or should do it with medical supervision. So I'm going to say that one more time because I see we have a few more people that joined us. Three type of people who may not want to follow a ketogenic plan or do it with medical supervision. One is somebody who does not need to lose weight. You are at a healthy weight and you have no existing medical problems. You don't have high blood pressure. You don't have diabetes. You're not pre-diabetic. You are not, you don't have PCOS. You don't have cholesterol issues. You are like completely and perfectly healthy, right? Oh, let me add the fourth person. A person who wants to gain weight may not want to follow a ketogenic plan, right? So we got four people. Someone who is at a healthy weight with no pre-existing medical conditions. Number two, somebody who wants to gain weight. Number three, somebody with a pre-existing and diagnosed kidney disease or kidney misfunction. And number four, someone with type 1 diabetes, not type 2, type 1 diabetes. Those are four people who may not want to follow a ketogenic plan, or if they have those conditions and they're paired with other metabolic dysfunctions, then you need to seek the advice of a medical professional to follow you along the way. I would recommend that you look into, and no, I do not have a personal recommendation, so you're going to have to Google this. Look into a doctor or a clinic in your area that focuses on nutrition therapy. This is not something that general medical doctors generally know much about. Like out of 8 years of school, they get one class in nutrition, right? And if your doctor's been a doctor for 20 years, that nutritional information has varied greatly based on more up-to-date research. And unless you have a doctor who intentionally and personally decides to study nutrition, then you should actually seek out a doctor who is familiar with nutrition therapies for diseases. So, with that said, let's talk about some of the misconceptions about following a ketogenic diet that will prevent people from wanting to follow it. So the number one misconception is people will say, my cholesterol is going to go up and I'm going to get heart disease and die. No. Okay. So, couple of things. Yes, your cholesterol might go up slightly. Ketogenic diet is not going to create heart disease. It is not going to have you have a heart attack, but you're eating more fat, and so you are going to have more fat in your system. So your cholesterol might go up slightly. However, you have two levels of cholesterol that doctors look at. which is your LDL, which is called your quote unquote bad cholesterol, and your HDL, which is quote unquote called your good cholesterol. Studies about cholesterol in a ketogenic diet shows that it actually, even though overall cholesterol might rise, it actually improves your cholesterol ratio, meaning that it causes the LDL to drop, to go lower, which is what your doctor likes, and it causes the HDL to rise, right? So that's the first thing that you need to know about cholesterol in a ketogenic diet. So, and this is what the research says, and I can personally make a testament to this, that of course, after following a ketogenic diet for a year, when I went to my annual, my doctor was like, your cholesterol is up about 10 points, but your cholesterol ratio has improved. So this is what, you don't want your doctor to just tell you, oh, your cholesterol is higher, right? What is my cholesterol ratio? So that's number one. So I have 3 points to make about cholesterol. So the number one point is that yes, you might, not everybody, but some people do see a rise in cholesterol, but cholesterol ratio will improve. That is the more important point. The second point about cholesterol is your level of cholesterol inside of tests, and all doctors don't run this test, and you have to ask if it's something that your doctor can give you. There is a test that looks at the density of the cholesterol, like the density of the lipids. We know that high density lipids are not likely to stick. High density lipids stick to your arteries. Low density actually goes through quicker. So you want to make sure that you ask your doctor for a very low density lipid test, right? Very low density lipid test. That is going to be a better determiner of your heart disease risk, right? So, or according to their research. The third point, which I think is the most important point about cholesterol, is the idea that high cholesterol actually causes heart disease is not exactly true. I'm going to refer you to, because of course I don't have 2 hours to tell you about this. There is a documentary on Amazon Prime called Fat Fiction. I highly recommend it. It is a mandatory watch for people who are in my program. It's called Fat Fiction, right? And it talks about the history and the misinformation and how it became a part of our medical treatment to think that fat is bad. And one of the things that is explained inside of the documentary is that cholesterol actually attaches itself to the arteries as a result of the arteries already being damaged. And so the metaphor that they use is sort of like blaming the firemen for the fire when they just came to put it out. So if you decrease the inflammation in the body, then the cholesterol will not stick to the arteries because there's no inflammation and nothing for it to heal. What a ketogenic diet does is it decreases the inflammation in the body. Inflammation is really an essential component of our health that we have to pay attention to. I was actually thinking about this the other day, and this is just completely off the cuff. I was literally thinking about this yesterday. I was reading an article about COVID and people who have gum disease, and how COVID it's another correlation that they have made between COVID and gum disease. And there's COVID and diabetes, and there's COVID and obesity. These are all the correlations. Like, if you have all of these things, then you're COVID. If you catch COVID, it may be worse. It may be deadly. And one of the things that I thought about as I'm reading, like, this most benign thing that people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to take care of, is every comorbidity that makes COVID worse, its source is inflammation in the body. Anytime you have inflammation in the body, It is decreasing your immune system. So inflammation happens with gum disease. Inflammation happens. Obesity is actually is a result of inflammation in the body as well, right? So people who are obese, if you're overweight or you're obese, then there is inflammation inside of your body. Diabetes, inflammation, arthritis, inflammation, right? So everything that I'm reading, like all of these little things that they're saying, oh yeah, there's a correlation between this, a correlation. Just about everyone, I'm saying just about because I haven't read every article, but every article that I have read, the correlation for the disease, the source of it is inflammation in the body because it decreases the immune system. The name of the documentary on Amazon Prime is called Fat Fiction. Fat Fiction, that's the name of the documentary. So definitely go watch that. It's going to be really eye-opening and educational for you. It's really important. So when we talk about things that you need to know before you start the ketogenic diet, you need to know, again, those 4 types of people. If you're thinking about it and you fall in one of those 4 categories, I would recommend that you definitely talk to your doctor or someone who is familiar with nutritional therapy before you embark on it, because it certainly can be very life-changing. The second thing that you need to know before you start a ketogenic diet is that it is a diet in which you have to commit to. You cannot waver back and forth, right? You cannot say, I'm going to be keto on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I'm going to eat what I want, and then on Thursday, I'm going to be keto, and it is a all or nothing diet. I do have to say that to you, because I think that some of the misconceptions that people have is that it is something that you can kind of go in and out. You actually will do more harm to your body than good. So when you are ready to follow a ketogenic plan, you need to commit. That is super, super important, because if you're constantly going in and out of it, then you actually are creating a high fat, high carb diet, which is actually what's going to cause health problems. So this is always one of my concerns when people say, well, I want to follow keto, but can I only do it and then eat and then have free days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? No, right? The process, the point of you getting into the point of a keto diet is for you to get into the state of ketosis. Ketosis is when your body switches from burning glucose to burning fat. In order to do that, you have to be consistent. It may take some people 5 days to get into ketosis. It may take other people 2 weeks to get into ketosis. It depends on what metabolic function you have and how long you have had it. So anecdotally, what we know or what we have seen among people is that if you have, for example, type 2 diabetes, it generally takes people longer to get into ketosis. If you have PCOS, it takes people longer to get into ketosis when you initially start the diet. So you can't do it Monday through Friday and then decide you don't want to do it on the weekend. Does that mean that you could never, ever have a piece of cake ever again? No, it doesn't mean that you can never, ever have a piece of cake again. I recommend that you stick to it strictly for 40 days, right? 40 days is the first 40 days is going to start getting your body acclimated to it. You are literally training your metabolism. And I'm going to explain to you what you're training it for. Your metabolism, it likes consistency. Your body in general likes consistency. It's sort of kind of like if you think about how you can regulate your sleep, right? If you make yourself go to bed at the same time every night, then your circadian rhythm will start then responding to that time, right? That's the way that our body is. It likes to adjust itself. Because internally, your body does not want to be challenged. It does not want to struggle. So it's going to adjust itself to match your habits. And so when you are trying to convert your metabolism from burning glucose into burning fat, you need to be consistent in that. So the body is like, okay, I'm burning fat today. Okay, I'm burning fat today. Okay, and then it eventually creates a default of burning fat. What we call that fat adapted. So if you've ever heard that term fat adapted, that's what it means. It means that your body is now defaulting to burning fat instead of glucose. But it can be reversed if you're going a week and you're off of it, right? Now you may have to reacclimate your body to the process. If you are a person who suffered the keto flu when you first got onto keto, right? And that tends to happen, again, it's more common in people who have insulin resistance. So what the keto flu is, really quickly, is, before I finish talking about fat adapted, remind me, if I get sidetracked, I got to go back to fat adapted. So keto flu is flu-like symptoms. You may feel like you are fatigued. You may feel tired. You may feel, even some people like literally get like body aches and stuff like that. You don't get a fever, so that's how you know it's not like really flu. And it happens when the body is trying to switch from glucose to fat, right? Some people will give up at that point, but that's the point where you need to be super strict, because it's literally right on the edge of switching over to fat, right? And your body is resisting it, right? Because you are insulin dependent, glucose dependent, and your body is resisting that switch, right? So when you are experiencing the keto flu, you're like right on the edge of the switchover, right? So that can happen over and over again if you keep switching out, or as some people say, I'm messing up on keto, right? All of those things that can happen to you over and over again. You don't want to be sick every 40 days, right? So when you become fat adapted, what that does is that it creates a default of burning fat. You do not experience keto flu even on, hey, I'm on vacation for a week and then I'm going to go back to my regular eating. And normally it takes 3 to 6 months for you to become fat adapted. So for your metabolism to say, okay, burning fat is the default, it generally takes 3 to 6 months for you to get into that. I'm sorry, let me be specific. 3 to 6 months of consistency, which means you've eaten a ketogenic diet for 90% of the time in 3 months, right? Not saying like you didn't have like one piece of bread or anything, but if 90% of your days in those 3 months have been ketogenic, then your body is going to default to being fat adapted, meaning that burning fat is the default. The second term that you need to know about is metabolic flexibility. What is metabolic flexibility? Now, once you become fat adapted, generally 6 to 12 months is where you develop metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility is when your body can efficiently and quickly switch between burning fat and burning glucose. What does that mean? How do you know you have not, if you're following a ketogenic diet, how do you know you have not achieved metabolic flexibility? You're following a ketogenic diet 90% of the time, and you've been great, and you've been keeping your carbs low, and you've been keeping your fat up, and then one day you decide, hey, it's my husband's birthday, my kid's birthday, it's Eid, it's whatever, my graduation, and I'm going to have carbs today. And then when you eat those carbohydrates, you feel lethargic. It makes your body just not feel well. You feel fatigue, or you have brain fog. That means that when you went to eat those carbohydrates, your body just literally did not know what to do with them, because now it is fat adapted, and it's like, okay, so it's like switching on you. Before, you were eating a whole bunch of carbs and it didn't know what to do with the fat until you trained it what to do with the fat. Now it's defaulting to fat burn, but if you give it carbs, it doesn't know what to do with the carbs. So fat adapted, you know you have achieved it when, you know what? I haven't seen my girlfriend since the pandemic started, and we're gonna go out to breakfast or go out to lunch, and I'm gonna have a sandwich, and then I'll get back to cutting out all carbs tomorrow, right? You have that sandwich and you feel fine, and your body is able to process it, and your glucose is able to be dissipated throughout your system without making you feel fatigue or brain fog or anything like that. That's when you know you have achieved metabolic flexibility. Right? So those are two important kind of like physiological changes that happens to your body. There's no technical test for it. It really is about you, how you're feeling when you are eating fat versus when you're eating carbohydrates, and can your body switch between the two without having repercussions in the way that you're feeling, right? So that is what you need to know in terms of before you start a ketogenic diet. Again, go back and listen. We have 4 people who the ketogenic diet may not be appropriate for. Ketogenic diet actually does not create heart disease or is bad for your cholesterol. It actually improves cholesterol ratio, and then the goal of being consistent on a ketogenic diet is first to cure metabolic dysfunction, second for you to become fat adapted, and third for you to have metabolic flexibility. Those are 3 things that should be the goal of your ketogenic plan. All right, questions. Let me scroll back. Okay. Is keto preventive? If one doesn't have any issue, does one follow keto anyway so as not to develop issues later in life? So we do not know if ketogenic diet is preventive, but certainly not eating sugar and not eating excess carbohydrates is certainly a preventive method for sure. So when you talk about keto being preventive, I always like to refer to the science, and we really don't have any scientific research that says keto can prevent you from having cancer, for example, but we do have scientific research to say if you have cancer, keto can reduce tumors, right? We know that we have research that says that it can improve your immune system. We have research that says that it can decrease pain from arthritis. So as far as it being preventive, I cannot confidently say, and I always like to give you not based on just my opinion. I mean, some of it is my opinion, let's be honest, but really tell you what the research says. So, questions. Let's see. Yes, most people who fluctuate, they cause more damage, and then they'll write some blog post to say how keto ruined my health when they wasn't being when they weren't really following keto. How long does it take to get into ketosis? See, I'm sorry, Instagram. I'm gonna try to end this in like 5 minutes because it's telling me my battery is getting ready to go out on my phone, and I don't want to lose you, and I don't want to lose this IGTV. All right. So I answered that. How long does it take you to get into ketosis? We talked about that. For my non-Muslim friends who are watching, a madhab is equivalent to a Christian denomination, right? So when I talked about keto being a madhab, that's an Arabic term that we use in Islam, meaning kind of like a denomination. Like if I say it in the terms of Christianity, it is vegan is like Seventh-day Adventist. Vegetarian is Protestant, keto is Baptist, like It means the same thing. Thank you for asking me to clarify that. All right, so can we do keto with a lot of veggies plus fat? Absolutely. Yes, my keto plan, I am a huge, not just a fan of veggies, but I require people. I'm losing my cameras here. I require my clients to eat lots of veggies. It is one of the major components of the program, right? So the wait list is open for anybody who is interested for the MR40 method program, where I teach you how to follow a well-formulated and healthy ketogenic plan. It is at mr40method.com, the number 40, mr40method.com. And our wait list is open because we do it as a 40-day challenge. And the person that loses the greatest percentage of her body weight actually wins $500 from me. I give $500 away every 6 weeks. So mr40method.com, go ahead and sign up for the wait list. I just started. I'm struggling with having quick eat to reach foods. What type of snacks do you suggest? So first of all, we are going to talk about foods on Thursday. We're going to specifically talk about the things that you eat on keto. But the second thing that I'm going to say is you shouldn't be snacking. Snacking is so unnecessary. So you should, technically, you shouldn't be looking for quick eat to reach foods. So if you are like, oh, I'm going to be on keto and I'm going to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks, it kind of really defeats the point. I am a huge advocate of we eat too much and too often. The reason why they push the idea of 3 meals and 2 snacks is because if you got to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks, then you got to buy more stuff and you got to buy more food. And the food industry actually makes more money. So if you don't think that they have influence over the recommendations that comes from the FDA, that comes down the pipeline from the government and what we see on TV, seriously, you do not need to, no one, whether you're following keto or not, you do not need to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. 2 more questions. How do we keep our fat percentage intake up in a healthy way? Increase more oil, like olive oil, avocado oil when you're cooking your eggs, when you're stir frying. Do not use pan spray, use actual oil. That is one way. Another way is do keto coffee with MCT powder, things like that. And we'll talk more about food on Thursday. And I think that's it. Okay. Yes, we'll talk more about food on Thursday, including MCT oil. All right, that is all for today. Remember, I am here Monday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Make sure you subscribe. You click the little bell so that you get notification when I am going live. And inshallah, until tomorrow, we will talk about our next part 3 of about the ketogenic diet, where the reasons why most people can't stick to a keto program. Some people say it's not realistic. Let's talk about it. All right? So I'll talk to you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.